Woman went to nursing home to make donation and found her father who had been missing for 28 years. Melissa Wilson pushed the heavy cardboard box down the quiet hallways, as she did every third Saturday of the month since losing her job at the clothing store at the mall. The routine of sorting through used clothes and bringing them for donation had become more than a habit. It was her way of finding purpose amid the financial instability she'd faced for 2 years. That's when she heard the soft melody echoing down the main hallway. A man's voice was humming quietly, a song that made her heart instantly race. It was Amazing Grace, but in the version only one person in the world knew how to sing that specific way, with that slow, tender rhythm that had lulled her entire childhood. When I looked at the land burning, like a 4th of July bonfire, the voice continued, faint but unmistakable. Melissa's legs trembled. The box slipped from her hands and hit the floor with a dull thud, scattering shirts and pants across the waxed floor. She didn't even notice. Her eyes searched desperately for the source of that voice she knew better than her own. "Ma'am, are you okay?" asked a staff member who quickly approached. Melissa didn't answer. She followed the sound, passing rooms with open doors where elderly residents rested in their beds or watched TV. The humming grew louder with each step. At the end of the hallway, near the common living area, she stopped. There he was, hair completely white, face marked by time, body frail in a blue wheelchair. But it was him. It was impossible. But it was him. "Daddy?" she whispered, her voice barely escaping her throat. The man stopped singing and slowly lifted his head. His eyes, still the same brown she remembered, met hers. For a few seconds, they just stared at each other in absolute silence. "Mel," he murmured, using the nickname no one else knew. "My Mel. 28 years. 28 long years since Robert Wilson had left home on a Tuesday morning for work and never returned. 28 years of searching, posters, police stations, dashed hopes and grief without a body to bury." Melissa approached slowly as if he were a mirage that might vanish at any moment. The man stretched out a trembling hand toward her. "Dad, is it really you?" she asked, kneeling beside the wheelchair. "You've grown so much, my girl. You look just like your mother when she was young." Tears began streaming down Melissa's face. She held her father's hand, feeling the rough skin and prominent veins, but also the familiar warmth that had comforted her as a child. "Where have you been all these years? Why did you leave? Why didn't you ever come back?" Robert lowered, his head, his expression visibly darkening. "I couldn't face you anymore, not after what I did, not after I lost everything." "What do you mean?" "Dad, we looked for you everywhere." Mom nearly went crazy with worry. "Your mother, how is she?" he asked, quickly changing the subject. "She remarried, Dad, 15 years ago. You can't blame her." Robert's face twisted in deep pain, but he nodded slowly. "I know. She deserved to be happy. Both of you did. Mr. Wilson, it's time for your snack," a nurse gently interrupted as she approached. "This is my daughter," he said, looking at Melissa with pride in his eyes. "My Mel." The nurse smiled, but Melissa noticed a puzzled look on her face. "That's wonderful, Mr. Wilson. It's been a while since you've had visitors." After the nurse walked away, Melissa turned back to her father. "How long have you been here?" "I'm not sure. The days blend together. A few years." "Dad, I need to understand what happened. I need to know why you left." Robert looked at his own hands, hesitant. "It was supposed to be just a small investment, Mel. A co-worker said he could multiply our money quickly. I thought about your college, the overdue bills, the future I wanted to give you all." "What investment?" "I gave everything, all our savings. The money we saved for years for your nursing degree, even the emergency fund your mother had set aside." Melissa felt a tightness in her chest. She was starting to understand. "It was a scam?" Robert nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "When I realized I'd lost everything, that there was no way to recover even a penny, I couldn't face you all. How could I tell your mother I'd destroyed our lives? How could I explain that you wouldn't be able to study because of me? So you just left. I thought it would be better that way, that you'd find a way to move forward without me weighing you down." Melissa stood abruptly, anger mixing with sadness. "Better? Dad, do you really think it was better for me to..." Grow up thinking you might be dead? That maybe you abandoned us because you didn't love us anymore? Do you have any idea what we went through?" Robert began to sob quietly. "I'm so sorry, my girl. So sorry. Every day I think about how things could have been different." "Ma'am?" A voice behind her made her turn. It was a middle-aged woman in a white coat with an ID badge. "I'm Dr. Johnson, the director of Golden Years. Are you related to Mr. Wilson?" "I'm his daughter," Melissa replied, still trying to process everything. "What a wonderful coincidence. He's been with us for 5 years. A neighbor brought him in after finding him disoriented on the street. He had no ID, couldn't say where he lived, just kept repeating that his name was Robert." 5 years, Melissa murmured. "He has episodes of confusion, but today he's particularly lucid. Sometimes he goes weeks without recognizing anyone. Other times he tells detailed stories from the past. He's a very sweet man. Doctor, can I speak with you privately?" They stepped a few feet away, leaving Robert humming softly in his chair. "He never mentioned having a daughter," the doctor said. "In fact, he's never had visitors in all these years. It's a long story. He disappeared 28 years ago. We never knew what happened to him." "My God, that explains so much. He often talks about a Mel when he's confused. We thought it might be an imaginary child or someone from long ago. How did he end up here?" "Mrs. Jenkins, a neighbor from Dayton, brought him. She said he showed up on her street during a storm, completely lost. She tried caring for him for a few months, but when she realized he needed professional help, she brought him to us." Melissa's legs trembled. Dayton was only 30 miles from Springfield, where they had always lived. He had been so close, all these years. And how is his health? "Physically, he's doing well for his age. The issue is mental. He has vascular dementia, likely from small strokes over the years. Some days he's present and talkative, others he barely recognizes the staff." "Is there treatment?" "We can manage it with medication, but the progression is inevitable. That's why it's so special he recognized you today." Melissa returned to her father, who had stopped humming and was watching her intently. "Mel, do you have children?" he asked suddenly. "I do, Dad. 2 teenagers. They're your grandchildren." Robert's face lit up like a child's. "What are their names?" "Nathan is 16 and Emily is 15. "Nathan and Emily. Such beautiful names. Do they know you found me?" "Not yet. I just found you myself." "I still can't believe this is happening." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Robert held his daughter's hand tighter. "Can you tell me about them? What are they like?" Melissa sat in a chair beside him, still processing this surreal moment. "Nathan is quieter, loves to draw. Emily is talkative, wants to be a veterinarian. She has your eyes, Dad." "And their father?" "David is a good man. Then we got married when I was 25. He always knew your story." "Does he make you happy?" "He does. It's not some movie romance, but we've built a good life together." Robert nodded, looking relieved. "And you? What do you do for work?" "I worked at a clothing store at the mall, but it closed last year. I'm still looking for a job." "What about nursing? Did you ever get to study?" Melissa hesitated. That question hurt more than she'd imagined. "No, Dad. After you left, Mom had to work 2 jobs just to pay the basics. There was never enough money for college." Robert's face completely fell. He began to cry silently. "I ruined your life. I ruined the future you deserved." "Dad, don't say that. I built a different life, but it wasn't ruined. I have a family I love, and now I've found you again. But you wanted so badly to be a nurse. I remember you taking care of hurt birds in the backyard, dreaming of helping people." Melissa felt a lump in her throat. It was true. At 17, when her father disappeared, she dreamed of studying nursing. She'd even started preparing for the college entrance exam. Life took different turns. I don't regret anything. You're lying to spare me more pain. I am lying, she admitted, surprising herself with her honesty. Yes, it was hard to let go of that dream, but Dad, you didn't have to carry this alone. We could have faced it together. Your mother would never have forgiven me. You never gave her the chance to try. They sat in silence for a few minutes, just holding hands. Can I visit you often? Melissa asked. You want to see me again? Even after everything? Of course I do. You're my dad. I love you. Robert cried even harder. I love you too, my girl. I never stopped loving you. Then why did you never try to reach out? At first, I was too ashamed. Then I lost my courage as the years passed. And when my memory started failing, sometimes I couldn't even remember exactly where you were. Dad, where did you live all these years before coming here? Robert strained to remember. On the streets mostly, different places. Rochester, Ann Arbor, Lansing. Sometimes I found temporary work, slept in shelters or parks. It wasn't a good life, Mel. Why did you stay near our area? I couldn't bring myself to go too far from you, even if I didn't have the courage to show up. It was like part of me still hoped that one day... One day what? That one. Day I'd find the courage to knock on your door and ask for forgiveness. Melissa squeezed his hand. You don't have to ask for forgiveness anymore, Dad. You're here now. But I do. I need to ask forgiveness. For your mother, for you, for the grandchildren I never knew, for all the birthdays I missed, for all the tears I caused. Okay. I forgive you. Just like that. It wasn't easy, Dad. It took nearly 30 years to get here, but I forgive you. And I'm sure when Mum finds out... No, he exclaimed, shifting in his chair. Don't tell her, please. Why? She rebuilt her life. She has a new husband. I can't show up now and mess everything up again. Dad, she has the right to know you're alive. What if she doesn't want to see me? What if she hates me? Melissa didn't know how to respond. She knew her mother, Patricia, well, and understood that the wound of abandonment was still far from healed even after all these years. Let's take it slow, she finally said. First, I want you to meet your grandchildren. Then we'll talk about Mom. Will they even want to meet me? I don't know, but I'll tell them your story today. What if they hate me for abandoning their mother? Dad, stop punishing yourself. You made a mistake, but paying for it the rest of your life won't fix anything. Robert took a deep breath. You've grown wise, my daughter. I had to. There was no choice. Tell me more about my grandchildren. What do they like to do? For the next hour, Melissa shared details about Nathan and Emily. How Nathan drew amazing comic strips and dreamed of studying graphic design. How Emily collected stuffed animals and had known since she was little that she wanted to work with animals. Nathan is more reserved like I was. Emily is talkative, just like Grandma Patricia, she explained. Grandma Patricia, Robert repeated, smiling sadly. She became a grandma. She has 4 grandchildren. Nathan and Emily are mine, and 2 from Richard, her current husband. 4 grandchildren. I've missed so much. But you don't have to miss anything else from now on. The evening was approaching, and Melissa realized she had to leave. She needed to pick up the kids from their maternal grandmother's house, where they spent Saturdays. Dad, I have to go now, but I'll come back tomorrow, I promise. Even if I don't remember you tomorrow? Even then. And I'll bring photos of the kids. Do you have pictures of them now? Melissa took out her phone and showed him several photos. Robert studied each one carefully, memorizing his grandchildren's faces. They're beautiful. They take after the good-looking side of the family, he joked. Don't be silly. You've always been a handsome man. I was. Now I'm just a forgotten old man. You're my father. That's what matters. Before leaving, Melissa spoke again with Dr. Johnson about Robert's care and treatment options. Is he well taken care of here? She asked. Yes, our staff is dedicated. But I can tell that family presence will make a huge difference in his condition. Can I visit him every day? Of course, in fact, that would be wonderful. Social and emotional stimulation helps a lot with managing dementia. What about the costs? How does that work? In his case, since he had no known family, the costs are covered by the city and donations. But if the family wants to take over, I'll look into how to do that. In the car on the way home, Melissa could hardly believe what had happened. She'd left the house for a routine donation and found the father she'd mourned for decades. Life really played inexplicable tricks, But now came the hard part, telling her children about the grandfather they never knew existed. At home, Nathan was drawing on the computer and Emily was watching a vet show on TV. David was reading the newspaper in the kitchen. "Mom, how was it at the nursing home today?" Emily asked, not taking her eyes off the TV. "It was different, very different." "Did something happen?" David noticed the odd tone in his wife's voice. "We need to talk, all of us." The family gathered in the living room. Melissa took a deep breath before speaking. "Kids, you know my father disappeared when I was a teenager, right?" "I know. He left and never came back," Nathan said, still fiddling with his tablet. "Nathan, stop that. And pay attention to your mother," David scolded. "Today I found him." Silence filled the room. Nathan put down his tablet. Emily turned off the TV. David leaned forward. "What do you mean you found him?" Emily asked. "He's at the nursing home where I make donations. He's lived there for 5 years. "My God, Melissa," David murmured. "Are you sure it's him?" "Absolutely. He recognized me, knew my childhood nickname, even sang the lullaby he used to sing to me." "And where has he been all these years?" asked Nathan, now fully attentive. "Living on the streets, mostly. He had some problems when he was young and thought it would be better to disappear." "What kind of problems?" Nathan pressed. Melissa hesitated. She decided to be honest. "He lost all the family's money in a scam. Instead of telling us, he chose to leave." "What an idiot," Emily said sharply. "Emily," David scolded. "But it's true, Dad. What kind of person abandons their family instead of facing their problems?" "A person who's scared and ashamed," Melissa replied calmly. "He made a terrible mistake, but he's not a bad man." "And what do you plan to do now?" David asked. "I want you to meet your grandfather." "I don't want to," Emily said flatly. "Why not?" "Because he abandoned you, Mom. You were my age when he left." "What if—" He does it again. "Honey, he's a sick old man now. He's not going anywhere." "What kind of sickness?" Nathan asked. "Memory problems. Some days he's lucid, others he doesn't recognize anyone." "So, he might not even remember us anyway," Emily concluded. He might not. But today, he was doing well and got emotional when I told him about you." "Melissa," David said gently, "are you sure you want to expose the kids to this? And what about you? Have you thought about the emotional toll?" "He's my father, David, our father. I can't just pretend I never found him." "No one's asking you to, but maybe you should process this yourself first before involving the kids. He could die any day. I've already lost 30 years with him." "What about Grandma Patricia?" Nathan asked. "Does she know?" "Not yet, and I'm not sure I'll tell her." "Why not?" "Because she's moved on. She has a new husband. It could be very painful for her to learn he's been alive all this time." "Or it could set her free," David suggested. "Your mother never got real closure." "I don't want to meet him," Emily repeated firmly. "Sweetheart, why?" "Because I'm scared I'll like him, and then he'll abandon me too." Emily's honesty struck Melissa deeply. She moved closer and hugged her daughter. "I understand your fear, love, but he won't abandon you. He's in a safe place now, being cared for." "What if he doesn't like us?" "Impossible." "When I showed him your pictures," he cried. Nathan, who had been quiet, finally spoke up. "I want to meet him." "Really?" Melissa asked hopefully. "Yeah, I've always wanted a grandpa. Dad's dad died before I was born, and Grandpa Richard isn't really my grandpa." "Hey, Richard treats you great," David protested. "And I like him, but it's not the same as having a real grandpa." Emily shot her brother an irritated look. "You've always been so naive, Nathan, and you've always been so suspicious." "Kids, don't fight over this," Melissa interrupted. "Emily, you don't have to go if you don't want to. I can just take Nathan first." "When are you going?" David asked. "Tomorrow, if Nathan's ready." "I am." "Then it's settled. Nathan, you and I will visit your grandpa tomorrow morning." That night, Melissa barely slept. Her mind kept replaying every detail of meeting her father, his singing voice, the recognition in his eyes, his explanation for disappearing. It all felt both real and surreal at once. David was still awake too. "How are you feeling?" he whispered. "Confused, relieved, angry." happy, all at once. That's natural. How many times did you dream about this moment? Every night for the first few years after he left. Then I slowly gave up hope. And now I'm scared I'll wake up tomorrow and find out it was just a dream. It wasn't a dream, love. And whatever comes next, we'll face it together. Aren't you bothered by this situation? Why would I be? I don't know. Afraid it might change our family dynamic? Mel, this man is your father. You finding him doesn't change anything between us. It just fills a part of you that was empty. I love you. I love you too. The next morning, Melissa woke up early and prepared a special breakfast. Nathan came downstairs already dressed and ready. Nervous? She asked. A little. What should I call him? Whatever you want. Grandpa, Granddad, Grandpa Robert. Grandpa Robert sounds nice. Emily came down to the kitchen a few minutes later, still in her pajamas and looking grumpy. I can still change my mind and go with you, she said, grabbing a glass of juice. Of course you can, but don't force yourself, sweetheart. It's just, if you come back telling cool things about him, I'll get jealous. Melissa smiled. It's okay to feel jealous. When you're ready, you'll meet him too. On the way to Golden Years nursing home, Nathan asked lots of questions. Does he look like me? A little. You have his eyes. What about me? Do I look like him? More like my side of the family than your dad's, but you have his way of speaking softly when you're thinking. What kind of music does he like? Mostly old country music. He used to play guitar when I was little. Can he teach? Me? I don't know if he remembers how to play, Nathan. He has memory problems. But today he might be okay, right? I hope so. At the nursing home, Melissa looked for Dr. Johnson first. How is he this morning? Surprisingly, well, he's been asking since early if Mel was coming to visit. It's amazing how reuniting with you has improved his mental state. I brought my son to meet him. How wonderful. He'll be so happy. They found Robert in the same spot as the day before, but today he was more put together. Someone had shaved him and combed his white hair. Mel, he exclaimed when he saw her approaching. You really came back. I promised I would. And I brought a surprise. Nathan stood slightly behind his mother, a little shy. Dad, this is Nathan, your grandson. Robert looked at the boy with eyes shining with emotion. Nathan. My grandson, Nathan. Hi, Grandpa Robert. Grandpa Robert, the old man repeated, smiling. That sounds so nice. Nathan stepped closer slowly. Mum said you like music. I do. Do you like music too? Kind of. I like drawing. More. Drawing? That's great. I used to draw when I was young. Really, nothing too good, but I enjoyed it. Nathan visibly relaxed and sat in a chair next to his grandfather. Can I see one of your drawings? I don't have any left, son. It's been too long. Then can I show you mine? Of course, I'd love to see. Nathan took out his phone and started showing his digital artwork. Robert examined each drawing with genuine admiration. You're very talented, Nathan. Really talented. Thanks, Grandpa. And your sister, what's she like? Nathan glanced at his mother before answering. Emily's cool, but she's kinda mad at you. Nathan, Melissa scolded. It's all right, Robert said. Why is she mad at me? Because you left and made Mom sad. Robert nodded slowly. She's right to be mad. I did a very bad thing. Why did you do it? Because I was a coward, Nathan. I made a big mistake, and instead of owning up to it and facing it, I ran away like a coward. But do you regret it? Every single day of my life. Then why didn't you ever come back? Melissa was about to step in, but Robert gestured for her to let him answer. At first, because I was too ashamed. Then because the longer I stayed away, the harder it got to show up. And then I started having problems with my mind, and sometimes I couldn't even remember exactly where you were. What kind of problems? Sometimes I forget things. Yesterday I remembered you and your mom perfectly. Today I still do, but tomorrow I might not remember anything. Nathan looked visibly sad. But does that mean you might forget me too? It's possible. But even if my mind forgets, my heart will always remember I have a beautiful, talented grandson named Nathan. How do you know that? Because that's how love works, my boy. It stays tucked away in a place the illness can't reach. Melissa was moved by her father's answer. Even with all his struggles, he still knew exactly what to say. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. Grandpa, can you tell me stories about Mom when she was little? Nathan asked. Of course, your mother was a very curious little girl, always asking questions about everything, just like Emily. And she loved taking care of injured animals. Any bird that fell from its nest, any hurt kitten, she'd bring them home. Emily wants to be a vet. Really? Then she takes after her mother. Nathan spent the next hour listening to stories about Melissa as a child, how she tried to teach a chick to fly, how she set up a doll hospital in her room, how she insisted on helping cook, even though she made a mess. Mom never told me these stories, Nathan said. Maybe because they hurt a little to remember, Robert explained, looking tenderly at his daughter. Why do they hurt? Because they were happy times that ended when I left. Melissa moved closer to them. They don't hurt anymore, Dad. Now you're here and we can make new memories. Can I bring Emily tomorrow? Nathan asked. I think she'd like your stories. If she wants to come, I'd be very happy. She will. She's just a little scared. Scared of what? Of liking you and you leaving again. Robert fell silent for a moment. Nathan, can you promise me something? Sure. If one day I don't remember you anymore, if I get confused and don't know who you are, will you still come visit me? Why? Because even if I don't remember, the good part of me will still be happy to have visitors, and who knows, maybe your kindness will help me remember again. I promise, Grandpa. Robert smiled and ruffled his grandson's hair. You're a special boy, Nathan, very special. You're special too, Grandpa. Even though you left, you're special. On the way home, Nathan was quiet, processing everything that had happened. What did you think of him? Melissa asked. I liked him. He's sad, but he's nice. Sad how? It's like he's carrying a heavy weight. Like it's his fault his life turned out bad. That's partly true. But it's not all his fault, right, Mum? The people who tricked him are to blame too. You're right. But your grandfather always blamed himself more than he should. Emily will like him, I'm sure. Why do you think that? Because he's honest. He didn't try to pretend he left for a good reason. He admitted he was wrong. Is that important to you? Yeah. I hate when adults try to trick kids with pretty lies. At home, Emily was in the living room watching TV. When she saw her brother come in, she turned it off right away. So, how was it? It was nice. He's really nice, Emily. Nice how? He's honest. He told stories about Mom when she was little, and he draws too. Draws? Used to. He doesn't remember how anymore, but he liked my drawings. Emily turned to her mother. Was he okay today? Very okay. Clear-headed, talkative, affectionate. And he remembers you just fine. Perfectly, even things I'd forgotten. I think I want to meet him. Are you sure? Yes, but if he's annoying, I'm leaving. Deal. The next day, the two women in the family went to the nursing home together. Emily was visibly nervous in the car. What if he doesn't like me? Impossible, sweetheart. What if? I don't like him. That's okay too, you don't have to like anyone. Does Grandma Patricia know you found him? Not yet. Why not? Because it's complicated, Emily. She suffered so much when he left. But wouldn't she be happy to know he didn't die? She might be. Or she might be really angry that he chose to stay away from us. I see. At the Golden Years nursing home, they found Robert in the activity room, trying to put together a puzzle with help from an occupational therapist. Mr. Wilson, your family is here, the staff member announced kindly. He looked up and smiled when he saw Melissa. Then his eyes turned to Emily. This must be Emily, he said, his face lighting up. Emily hid behind her mother. Hi, she whispered. She's a little shy, Melissa explained. That's normal. I'd be shy too, meeting a grandfather I never knew. Emily studied him for a moment. He really did have the same eyes she saw in the mirror every day. Did you really disappear because of money? She asked bluntly. Emily, Melissa scolded. It's all right, Robert said. Yes, Emily. I lost all our family's money in a scam and didn't have the courage to tell you. Why didn't you have the courage? Because I thought you'd all be really mad at me, and you'd have every right to be. So what? Everyone gets mad sometimes. That's true, but back then I didn't think that way. Emily stepped a little closer. Nathan said you told stories about Mom when she was little. I did. I can tell you some too if you'd like. I'd like that. Emily sat in the chair beside him. Robert began telling her about how Melissa used to organize talent shows for the neighborhood pets. Mom did that? Emily asked, laughing. She did, and she charged admission 2 cents to watch the show. Mom, you never told me that. I forgot about my entrepreneurial phase, Melissa said, laughing too. And did she actually make money? Oh yes, she saved it in a cookie tin. Said she was going to buy a real animal hospital when she grew up. Emily looked at her mother with admiration. So you always wanted to work in medicine, huh, Mom? In a way, yes. Grandpa, was Mom really going to be a nurse before you left? Robert grew serious. She was. She was very smart, studied hard. She was sure she'd pass the college entrance exam. Then why didn't she do it later? Because when I left, your grandmother had to work so hard to support the family alone. There wasn't money left for college. Emily processed this quietly. So that means, if you hadn't left, Mom would be a nurse today? Maybe. Or maybe she would have chosen a different path. Life is full of possibilities, but it was your fault. Emily, Melissa warned again. It was, Robert admitted. It was my fault. Do you regret it? Every day. Then why didn't you ever come back to apologize? Because the longer time passed, the more I thought you were better off without me. But were we? Robert looked at Melissa. I don't know, only you can answer that. Emily turned to her mother. Mom, were we better off without him? Melissa hesitated. It was different, sweetheart. Not better or worse. Just different. But did you miss him? So much? Then we weren't better off, Emily concluded with a child's simple logic. Robert began to cry softly. I'm sorry, my granddaughter, I'm so sorry. Emily watched him cry and her expression softened completely. Don't cry, Grandpa. It's over now. But I lost so much time with you. Then let's make the most of the time we have left. Melissa was moved by her daughter's wisdom. Emily's right, Dad. We can't change the past, but we can make the present better. Do you really forgive me? After everything? I forgive you, Emily said, surprising everyone. But on one condition. What? You can never leave again. Even if you do something wrong. I promise. Even if I don't remember you anymore because of the illness, I promise I won't leave. Emily stood up and, to everyone's surprise, hugged her grandfather. I like you, Grandpa Robert. I like you very much too, my beautiful granddaughter. That afternoon, the 3 generations talked for hours. Robert shared more stories from the past. Emily talked about her dream of becoming a veterinarian, and Melissa watched with a full heart as father and daughter connected. Grandpa, could you come spend a weekend at our house? Emily suddenly asked. Melissa was surprised by her daughter's invitation. I'm not sure if that's possible, sweetheart. He needs special care. But it might be, Robert said hopefully. I can ask the doctor. Really, you'd want to come? Of course I would. I want to see the house where you live, your rooms. I want to cook something for you. You know how to cook? Emily asked. I used to. I don't know if I still can, but we can try. Melissa spoke with Dr. Johnson about the possibility of Robert spending a weekend at home. It's possible, as long as he keeps taking his medication on time and you can recognize signs of confusion. What kind of signs? Agitation, disorientation, not recognizing familiar people. If that happens, it's best to bring him back here, until he stabilizes. What about the costs here? How can I take care of them? I'll give you the contacts for the administrative department. They'll explain everything. That night at home, the whole family was together for dinner, the first time in weeks. The atmosphere was truly harmonious. Dad, when Grandpa comes for the weekend, he can sleep in my room, Nathan offered. You don't have to, son. We can set up the living room sofa. But I want him to sleep in my room. That way I can talk to him late at night. What if he has a confusion episode during the night? David asked, concerned. What's a confusion episode? Emily questioned. Sometimes he gets lost, doesn't know where he is, doesn't recognize people, Melissa explained. What if that happens here at home? We'll have to handle it. The doctor will teach us. Mom, Emily said, are you going to tell Grandma Patricia? I don't know yet, sweetheart. But doesn't she have the right to know? She does, but I'm afraid of how she'll react. What if she wants to see him too? Nathan asked. I don't know if he could handle it emotionally. Why not? Because your Grandma Patricia was the woman he loved his whole life. Seeing her with another husband could be very painful, but they're not married anymore anyway, Emily observed pragmatically. No, but the feelings might still be there. Mum, David said gently, I think you should at least tell your mother he's alive. What she decides to do with that information is up to her. Maybe you're right. Can I come with you when you tell her? Nathan asked. Why? Because if Grandma gets really mad, I can help explain that Grandpa isn't a bad person anymore. Melissa smiled at her son's innocence. Of course, sweetheart. The following Saturday, Robert came to spend his first weekend with family in nearly 3 decades. Dr. Johnson personally drove him and spoke with the whole family about his care. He's had an excellent week, she explained. Very lucid. No confusion episodes, but that could change at any moment, so stay alert. It's so good to have you here, Grandpa, Emily said, helping him out of the car. It's good to be here, my granddaughter. Nathan made sure to show his grandfather every room in the house, explaining who slept where important things were kept, and how the TV worked. This is our home, Grandpa. Now it's yours too. Thank you, Nathan. It's a beautiful house. Want to see my room? That's where you'll sleep. Nathan's room was impeccably tidy. He had taken down all the posters from the walls and put away his more childish toys to make the space more suitable for an adult. You didn't have to. Clean up everything for me, said Robert, moved. I wanted to. I want you to feel at home. Where will you sleep? On the living room couch, it's no problem. Nathan, I can't kick you out of your own room. Grandpa, you're my guest. Besides, you're older. You need the bed more than I do. Robert hugged his grandson tightly. You're a very special boy, Nathan. During lunch, David and Robert talked for the first time. The older man was visibly nervous. David, I want to apologize to you, he said suddenly. For what? For abandoning Melissa. I know you had to deal with the consequences of that when you got married. What do you mean? Her insecurities, her fears, the difficulty trusting someone completely. David was surprised by Robert's insight. Did she tell you that? She didn't have to. It's the natural consequence of what I did. A daughter abandoned by her father always carries wounds. That's true, but we worked through it together. You're a good man, David. You took care of my family better than I ever did. Mr. Robert, we all make mistakes. What matters is what we do to fix them. And what can I do to make up for almost 30 years of absence? Be here from now on. That's all that matters. Emily, who had been listening, walked up to the eye. 2 men. Daddy David, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Are you jealous of Grandpa? David laughed at his daughter's blunt question. Why would I be jealous? Because now Mom has her dad back and we have a real Grandpa. Emily, love isn't something that runs out when you share it. The more people to love, the better. But what if Mum likes Grandpa more than you? Honey, Robert interrupted, a father's love is one thing. A husband's love is something completely different. Your mum loves you, loves David, and loves me too. But each love has its own place in the heart. How do you know that? Because I'm old and I've learned a few things in life. That afternoon, Melissa finally gathered the courage to call her mother. Mom, can I come over? I need to talk to you about something important. Did something happen, dear? Not over the phone. Can I come now? Of course, come on over. Melissa asked Nathan to go with her as they had agreed. In the car, he noticed his mom was nervous. Mom, Grandma won't be mad at you. How can you be so sure? Because you're her daughter, and mothers always forgive their children. I hope you're right. Patricia's house was just 10 minutes away. It was a simple but well-kept home, with a garden full of flowers she tended with care. Hi, Mom, Melissa greeted her, kissing the 68-year-old woman's cheek. "Hi, Grandma," said Nathan, hugging her warmly. "What a wonderful surprise. Where's Emily?" "She stayed home with her dad." "And what's this important thing you need to talk about?" Melissa took a deep breath. "Mom, sit here next to me." Patricia obeyed, but her expression was already worried. "Just say it, Melissa. You're making me nervous." "Mom, I found Dad." The silence that followed was deafening. Patricia went completely still, staring at her daughter. "What do you mean you found him?" "He's alive, Mom. He's at the Golden Years nursing home where I donate." Patricia stood up abruptly. "That's not possible." "It is. I talked to him. He recognized me, told me things only he would know." "How long has he been there?" 5 years. 5 years, Patricia repeated, her voice breaking. "Grandma, aren't you happy?" Nathan asked innocently. Patricia looked at her grandson with tear-filled eyes. "I don't know what I feel, Nathan. Why aren't you happy?" "Because it's all so confusing, sweetheart." Patricia turned to Melissa again. "Where has he been all these years?" "Living on the streets, mostly. He lost the family's money. In a scam and didn't have the courage to tell us." "What scam?" "I don't know all the details yet, but he said he lost all our savings, including the money set aside for my college." Patricia sank heavily into the armchair. "I knew it." "Knew? What?" "About the scam. I found out a few months after he disappeared." "How?" "The man who pulled the scam tried to trick me too. When I told the story to our neighbor, she said she'd heard the same conversation at the house next door the day before." Melissa was shocked. "And why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because it wouldn't bring him back. And I hated him so much back then." "Grandma, did you know Grandpa was alive?" Nathan asked. "No, sweetheart. I knew why he left. But I didn't know if he was alive or not." "And now?" Melissa asked. "How do you feel knowing he's alive?" Patricia stayed silent for several minutes. "I feel angry," she finally said. "So angry." "Why?" "Because he left me alone to raise you. Because he chose to live on the streets, rather than come home and face the problems with us." "Mom, do you have any idea what it was like raising a teenage daughter alone? Do you know how many nights I cried wondering if he was alive or if something had happened to him? I know it was hard." "Hard? It was hell, Melissa. And now you're telling me he was alive this whole time, living just 30 miles away?" Nathan moved closer to his grandmother. "Grandma, Grandpa is really sorry. He cries when he talks about you." "So what?" Patricia snapped. "Regret doesn't erase 30 years of abandonment." "Mom, please." "No, Melissa. You can forgive him if you want, but don't ask me to do the same. I'm not asking you to forgive. I'm just telling you he's alive. And what do you expect me to do with that information?" "Nothing. It's your decision." Patricia began pacing the room. "Richard is away on a business trip. When he gets back, I'll have to tell him too." "How do you think he'll react?" "I don't know, probably just as shocked as I am." "Grandma?" Nathan said gently. "Grandpa is sick. He has memory problems." "What kind of problems?" "Sometimes he forgets things. He might even forget us." Patricia stopped pacing and looked at her grandson. "How old is he now?" 71, Melissa answered. 71? He really is old. "Do you want to see a picture of him?" Nathan offered, pulling out his phone. Patricia hesitated but finally nodded. Nathan showed her a photo he'd taken the day before where Robert was smiling with his grandchildren. "My God," she murmured. "He looks so different." "Time changes everyone, right, Grandma?" "It sure does, Nathan." "He still sings Amazing Grace the same way," Melissa said softly. Patricia looked at her in surprise. "How do you know?" "That's how I recognized him. I heard him singing in the hallway at the nursing home." Patricia's eyes welled up with tears. "That song." "I know, Mom. I remember you singing it together." Patricia sat down again, this time looking more fragile. "I loved that man so much, Melissa." "I know. But I also hated him. For years." "That's natural. And now I don't know what I feel anymore. You don't have to know right now. You can take your time." "Where is he staying now?" "At the nursing home. But today he's spending the weekend at our house." "At your house?" "Yes, the kids wanted him to come." "And how was it?" Good. He's getting along really well with Nathan and Emily. And David? David has been very understanding. He even talked to him about us. Patricia grew thoughtful again. Melissa, can I ask you something? Of course. I don't want to see him yet. I'm not ready, but can you tell me how he is? How has he been treating you all? Of course, Mom, he's affectionate, remorseful, wants to make up for lost time. But he's also fragile, sometimes confused because of the illness. And did the kids like him? They liked him a lot. Especially Emily, who was really resistant at first. Emily's always been the more skeptical one. She takes after you, Melissa joked. Patricia gave a weak smile. Maybe. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, Nathan approached his grandmother again. Grandma, Grandpa asked about you. Asked what? How you were, if you were happy. Things like that. And what did you say? Mom said you remarried and are doing well. How did he react? He was sad but said you deserved to be happy. Patricia was moved by the answer. He was always generous with others' feelings, she murmured. So do you still like him? Nathan asked with childlike curiosity. Nathan, that's too complicated to explain to a child. But I want to understand. Patricia looked at her grandson fondly. When you love someone for a long time, that love doesn't completely disappear, even if they hurt you. So you still love Grandpa? A part of me will always love the man he was, but I'm also very hurt by what he did. I get it. It's like when Emily fights with me. I get mad at her, but she's still my sister. That's pretty close. Yes. Melissa moved closer to her mother. Mom, you don't have to decide anything now. I just wanted you to know he's alive. Thank you for telling me, dear. I know it wasn't easy. Grandma, Nathan said, if you ever want to see him again, he'd be really happy. Maybe one day I will, Nathan. Maybe. On the way home, Nathan was quiet, processing the conversation with his grandmother. Mom, why do adults make things so complicated? What do you mean? Grandma loves Grandpa, Grandpa loves Grandma, but they can't be together because of things that happened a long time ago. Sweetheart, sometimes wounds are too deep to heal easily. But wouldn't it be better to try? Maybe, but everyone needs their own time to forgive and forget. What if Grandma never forgives him? Then she'll keep carrying that hurt, and it'll only hurt her. I hope she changes her mind. Me too, Nathan. At home, they found Robert helping Emily bake a cake in the kitchen. Both were covered in flour and laughing. What are you two up to? Melissa asked. We're making a chocolate cake, Emily said. Grandpa knows a super old recipe from our great-grandma that I never knew about. My mom used to make this cake when I was little, Robert explained. I hope I still remember the recipe right. How did it go with Grandma Patricia? Emily asked. Hard, Nathan replied. She was really surprised and a little mad. Mad at Grandpa? Yeah. Robert stopped mixing the batter. It's understandable she's angry. I hurt your grandmother deeply. But she still likes you, Nathan said. How do you know? By the way she talked about you. And when she saw your picture, she started crying. Crying from sadness or missing me. I think from missing you. Robert was silent for a moment. Maybe it's better if I don't try to see her. It might be too painful for her. Or maybe... You two need to talk, Emily suggested. You think so? I do. We learned in school that holding on to bad feelings is bad for your health. Robert smiled at his granddaughter's wisdom. You're very smart, Emily. I know, Mom always says that. During dinner, David mentioned he'd researched treatments for vascular dementia. There are exercises and activities that can help slow the progression of the disease, he explained. What kind of activities? Asked Melissa. Puzzles, memory games, reading, music, social interaction? Does the nursing home offer those things? Some, yes, but family time is the most important. Grandpa, would you like to come spend more weekends here? Asked Nathan. Of course I would, if it's not a bother for you all. It's no bother at all, said Emily. The house feels happier when you're here. Why? Because you tell stories, help cook, and make Mom happier. Robert looked at Melissa. Do I make you happier? Much happier, Dad. Even with all my memory problems? Even then, your presence fills something that was empty in me. What was empty? The part that had a father. That night, Nathan insisted on sleeping in the room with his grandfather, even though they had set up an extra bed in the living room. Can I stay here, Grandpa? I promise I won't make noise. Of course you can, but why don't you want to sleep in the living room? Because what if you get confused during the night? I can help. You. How would you help me? By reminding you where you are, who we are, things like that. Robert was moved by his grandson's concern. You're a very thoughtful boy, Nathan. I learned from Mum. She always took good care of everyone. She really is a special woman. Grandpa, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you miss Grandma Patricia? Robert took a moment to answer. I miss her very much, Nathan. Then why don't you try talking to her? Because I'm afraid of hurting her even more. But what if you don't? What if she wants to talk too? Do you think she does? I don't know, but I think you both deserve to try. You might be right. Grandpa? Yes? Thank you for coming back to our family. Thank you for accepting me back, my grandson. On Sunday morning, Robert woke up before everyone else and went to the kitchen to make breakfast. When Melissa came downstairs, she found the table set with bread, fruit, freshly brewed coffee, and scrambled eggs. Dad, you didn't have to do all this. I wanted to do something special for you all. It's been so long since I cooked for family. It's delicious. One by one, the other family members came down and were surprised by the special breakfast. Grandpa, you cook really well, Emily praised. Your great-grandmother taught me when I was young. She said a man should know how to cook to take care of his family. She was wise, said David. She really was. I miss her. Tell us about her, Nathan asked. Robert spent the whole breakfast telling stories about the children's grandmother, a strong woman who had raised 5 children alone after her husband died in World War II. She used to say family isn't just who you're born with, but who chooses to stay together, he shared. I like that saying, Emily said. She had many wise sayings. What else did she say? That mistakes are part of life, but giving up is what you can't do. Did you give up when you left? Nathan asked directly. I did, Nathan, and I regret it every day. But you didn't give up completely, Emily observed. You stayed alive, stayed close, kept memories of us. How do you know I kept memories? Because when Mom showed up, you recognized her right away. That means you were always thinking of us. Robert smiled with tears in his eyes. You're all very smart and generous. Generous how? Generous in giving me a second chance. After breakfast, it was time for Robert to return to the nursing home. Everyone was a little sad about the goodbye. When can you come again? Emily asked. Whenever you want and the doctor allows. How about next weekend? Nathan suggested. If you'd like. We'd love that, Melissa said. You're part of the family now. In the car on the way to Golden Years nursing home, Robert was quiet. What are you thinking about, Dad? About how you've changed my life. Last Friday, I was just a sick old man waiting to die. Today, I'm a grandfather. I'm a father again. You never stopped being my father. But I wasn't acting like one. A father isn't just the one who creates you. It's the one who stays, who cares, who participates. And now you're participating, thanks to your generosity. It's not generosity, Dad, it's love. At Golden Years, Dr. Johnson greeted them with curiosity about how the weekend had gone. How did he behave? Perfectly well, Melissa answered. Lucid the whole time, affectionate, he even cooked for us. How wonderful. Family presence is working miracles on his condition. Doctor, how long does he have? Melissa hesitated. What's the prognosis? Hard to say. Vascular dementia is unpredictable. It can progress quickly or remain stable for years. It depends a lot on his emotional state and mental stimulation. What if he came to live with us? Live with you? It's a possibility. We have space, time, and willingness to care for him. That would be ideal, but you'd need to prepare for the progression of the disease. There may come a time when he'll need specialized medical care. We understand that. If you really want to consider this possibility, I can guide you on necessary home adaptations, medications, warning signs. We'd really appreciate that. When saying goodbye to her father, Melissa promised to visit him midweek. Dad, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? I told Mom you're alive. Robert's face turned pale. How did she react? She was very surprised and a little angry. At me? At the whole situation. She's confused, doesn't know what to feel. And she doesn't want to see me. Not right now, but she didn't say never either. I understand, maybe it's better this way. Dad, I think you two need to talk someday, even if it's just to close this chapter for good. You think so? I do. You loved each other very much. You deserve at least a proper goodbye. Robert grew thoughtful. Maybe you're right. Think about it. When you're ready, I'll help arrange a meeting. And if she doesn't want to, then at least you tried. During the week, Melissa visited her father 3 times. Each visit confirmed that her presence in his life was making a huge difference. He was more communicative, more present. Even physically, he seemed stronger. On Wednesday, she got a surprise when arriving at Golden Years. Melissa, I'm so glad you came, said Dr. Johnson. Your father had an episode this morning. What kind of episode? He woke up confused, didn't know where he was, became agitated looking for you all. Is he okay now? He is. When we told him you were coming to visit, he calmed down completely. Melissa found Robert in the common room looking out the window. Dad? He turned and smiled when he saw her. Mel, I'm so glad you came. How are you? Better now. This morning was hard. What happened? I woke up and didn't know where I was. For a few moments I thought I was still on the streets. I panicked thinking I'd dreamed you all up. But now you know it's real, right? I do, but it scared me badly. That's normal, Dad. The doctor explained this might happen. What if one day I forget you completely? Then we'll remind you every day who we are. Even if I don't recognize you. Even then, Nathan already promised that. Robert smiled sadly. These grandchildren of mine are angels. They really are. Melissa, I need to ask you something. Of course, if one day I get very sick, very confused, don't let them see me like that. I want them to remember me as I am now. Dad, don't talk like that. It's important, honey. Promise? I promise. But I hope that day is still far away. I hope so too. That weekend, Robert came back to the family home. This time, Emily had made a welcome grandpa sign and decorated the whole living room. How beautiful, my granddaughter. I wanted you to know this is really your home too. Thank you, Emily. You don't know how much this means to me. On Saturday, they all went to the city park together. Robert got emotional watching his grandchildren playing, running, just being normal kids. I never thought I'd live to see my grandchildren grow up, he told Melissa. You'll see much more. Nathan wants to teach you how to use the computer, and I want to learn. I want to keep up with your lives, be part of everything. On Sunday, they got an unexpected visit. It was Patricia. Melissa answered the door and was surprised to see her mother. Mom, what are you doing here? I came to talk to him. Are you sure? I am. I spent all week thinking, and I decided I need to speak with him. He's in the backyard with the kids. How is he? Good, clear-headed, affectionate. And how do I look? Asked Patricia, trying to fix her hair. Beautiful, as always. Melissa called the kids inside and explained that Grandma wanted to talk to Grandpa alone. In the backyard, Robert was watering the plants when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around and nearly dropped the watering can. Patricia. Hi, Robert. They looked at each other in silence for a moment. 30 years dissolved. In that instant, there they were again, the man and woman who had loved each other intensely in their youth. You look well, he finally said. You've gotten old, she replied with a half-smile. I have. Time hasn't passed in vain. It hasn't for me either. Robert stepped closer. Patricia, Don't say anything yet, she interrupted. Let me speak first. He nodded, and they sat on the wooden bench David had built under the tree. "I spent 30 years hating you," Patricia began. "You had every right." "Let me finish. I spent 30 years hating you, but also loving you, and that left me very confused. I'm so sorry, Patricia. Sorry. For everything. Do you know what was hardest for me?" "What?" "Not knowing if you were alive or dead, not being able to bury you, but also not being able to wait for you." Robert started to cry. "I'm sorry. Sorry for all the pain I caused." "Why did you leave, Robert? Why didn't you trust me?" "Because I was ashamed, because I lost all our money, including Melissa's future. And you thought it was better to leave me alone to deal with everything. I thought you'd find a way to move on without me. You were wrong. I needed you. Melissa needed you. I know that now. But back then, you only thought about yourself, your shame, your fear, your pain, not ours. You're right, I was selfish." Patricia took a deep breath. "But I made mistakes too." "How so?" "I knew about the scam, Robert. I found out a few months after. You disappeared." "You knew?" "The same man tried to trick me. When I told a neighbor, she said he'd pulled the same scam on several people in town." "Then why didn't you ever look for me to tell me?" "Because I was too angry. Because I wanted you to suffer like I was suffering." "I understand." "No, you don't. If I had looked for you, if I'd told you I knew the truth, maybe you would have come home, maybe we could have faced it together." "Patricia, I abandoned you too, Robert. In my own way, I abandoned you too." They sat in silence, just looking at their hands. "So now what?" he finally asked. "Now, I don't know. I'm married. You're sick. 30 years have passed." "I don't expect anything, Patricia. I just wanted you to know I never stopped loving you." "I never stopped loving you either. But love alone doesn't fix everything." "I know. Richard is a good man. You made me happy all these years. I'm glad for that. You deserve to be happy. And you, were you happy all these years?" "No, I was very unhappy, and it was all my own fault." Patricia looked at him with sadness. "What a waste, isn't it? Two people who loved each other destroying their own happiness out of pride and fear. A terrible waste. But at least Melissa and the kids are happy now." "They are. She's an incredible woman, Patricia. You raised a wonderful daughter." "We raised her. The first 17 years were ours." "That's true." Patricia stood up from the bench. "Robert, can I visit you from time to time?" "Of course, I'd love that. Not as husband and wife, that's over, but as old friends who care about each other. That would be perfect. And I want to get to know my grandchildren better. I wasted too much time not knowing they had a grandfather. They're special kids. You'll love spending time with them. I already do, but now I want them to know both sides of the family." Robert stood up too. "Patricia, thank you." "For what?" "For coming here. For talking to me. For forgiving me. I'm still learning to forgive, but I'm trying. That's all I can ask." Patricia stepped closer and surprisingly hugged him. "You're forgiven, Robert. Finally, you're forgiven." They held each other for a few moments, crying together for the first time in 30 years. Inside the house, Melissa watched through the window with tears in her eyes. Nathan and Emily stood beside her. "They're hugging," Emily observed. "Is that good or bad?" Nathan asked. "It's good, sweetheart. Very good." When Patricia came inside, she went straight to greet her grandchildren. "Say, I'm sorry it took me so long to accept Grandpa Robert into the family." "It's okay, Grandma," Nathan said. "People need time to process things." "Where did you learn to talk like that?" "From Mom. She always says everyone moves at their own pace." "Grandma Patricia," Emily said, "now that you've made up, can Grandpa come to all the family gatherings?" "Of course he can. He's part of the family." "And Grandpa Richard, he won't be mad?" "No, my dear, Richard is understanding. He'll get it." That afternoon, for the first time in 3 decades, 3 generations of the family gathered around the dinner table. Patricia and Robert shared stories from the past, and the grandchildren listened, fascinated. "Tell us about how you met," Emily requested. "Oh, that's a lovely story," Patricia said, smiling at Robert. "I was 19 and your grandma was 17, he began. "It was at a county fair. Your grandfather was the handsomest boy there," Patricia continued. "All the girls wanted to dance with him." But I only had eyes for your grandma. She was wearing a blue floral dress with her hair tied in a yellow ribbon. And you still remember that? Nathan asked, impressed. I do. Some moments stay with you forever. How did you start dating? Emily wanted to know. He asked me out 3 weeks later, Patricia said. Showed up at my door all dressed up with a bouquet of wildflowers. I didn't have money for florist. Flowers, Robert explained, laughing. But they were the most beautiful flowers I ever got, Patricia said, laughing too. How long did you date before getting married? 2 years. We married when I was 21 and she was 19. And were you happy? Patricia and Robert exchanged glances. We were very happy, she said. Until things got complicated. But now you're friends again? Nathan asked. Yes, we are, Robert confirmed. Old friends who care about each other. And that's enough? Emily pressed. For us, at this stage in life, it's perfect, Patricia replied. When it was time for Robert to return to Golden Years nursing home, Patricia offered to drive him. Can I see where you live? Of course. It's just not a very pretty place. It doesn't matter. I want to know where you are, how you live. At the Golden Years nursing home, Patricia spoke with Dr. Johnson about Robert Wilson's health. How is he really doing, Doctor? Better than when he first arrived, that's for sure. Having family around has been crucial for his treatment. And the prognosis? It's hard to say. Dementia is unpredictable. But the love and support he's receiving are definitely making a difference. Is there anything I can do to help? Keep visiting. Social stimulation is the best medicine for cases like his. I will. I promise. When saying goodbye, Patricia kissed Robert's face tenderly. I'll come see you next week. Really? Really? You're part of my life again now. In a different way, but you are. Thank you, Patricia, for everything. Thank you for making me feel young again for a few hours. In the following months, a new routine took shape. Robert spent every weekend at home with Melissa and the family, and Patricia visited him regularly during the week. Richard, Patricia's current husband, surprised everyone with his understanding and generosity. Not only did he accept the situation, but he also started visiting Robert himself, forming an unexpected friendship. It's strange being friends with my wife's ex-husband, Richard remarked once. But he's a good man who made a terrible mistake. Everyone deserves a second chance. Nathan and Emily adjusted perfectly to the new family dynamic. They now had 2 grandfathers, Richard and Robert, and made the most of their attention. Grandpa, Richard teaches me soccer. Grandpa Robert teaches me how to draw, Nathan said. Grandpa Richard takes me to the vet to see the animals. Grandpa Robert tells me old stories, Emily added. Robert's mental health remained stable for nearly a year. His moments of confusion were rare, and when they happened, the family knew how to handle them. Inspired by her experience with her father, Melissa decided to go back to school. At 45, she enrolled in a nursing technician course. It's never too late to chase a dream, she said, when sharing the news with the family. I'm so proud of you, Robert said, tears in his eyes. Your mother would be proud too. She is proud, Patricia corrected. Always has been. The first sign that his condition was worsening came on a Tuesday morning. Robert woke up at the nursing home calling for Melissa, as if she were still a child. Where's my little girl? He asked the nurses. She's going to be late for school. When Melissa arrived, he looked at her confused. Who are you? Where's Mel? Dad, I am Mel. I'm your daughter. No, you're a grown woman. My daughter is a little girl. It was the first of many similar episodes. Sometimes Robert was fully present, other times he was lost in the past, and sometimes he didn't recognize anyone. It's normal as the disease progresses, Dr. Johnson explained. Unfortunately, it tends to get worse over time. How long does he have? Melissa asked bluntly. It's hard to say. Could be months, could be years. It depends on how the disease develops. The family decided to make the most of Robert's lucid moments. They created a photo album of all their recent memories, recorded videos of him telling stories, and even threw an early birthday party. Why are you doing all this? He asked during a clear moment. Because we love you and want to keep every memory we can, Emily answered honestly. Am I going to die soon? We don't know, Grandpa, but if it happens, we want you to know how much finding you meant to us. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, he said, hugging his grandchildren. In December, almost 2 years after their reunion, Robert had a more serious episode. He was hospitalized for a week. He's stable but very fragile, the doctor explained. It's only a matter of time. The family has set up a rotation, so he's never alone. Melissa, Patricia, Nathan, Emily, David, and even Richard take turns by his bedside. That's what family is, the hospital nurse remarked, being there during the hard times. On Christmas Eve, Robert had a moment of perfect clarity. He recognized everyone, remembered everything, and asked about Melissa's studies, Nathan's drawings, and the animals Emily had recently rescued. "This will be my last Christmas with you," he said calmly. "Don't talk like that, Dad," Melissa pleaded. "It's not sadness, it's gratitude. Gratitude for these 2 wonderful years with you." Patricia held his hand. "You gave us the chance to forgive. That was a gift. And you gave me the chance to be a father and grandfather again. That was a miracle." Nathan and Emily moved closer to the bed. "Grandpa, we love you so much," Nathan said. "And we'll never forget you," Emily added. "Nor I you. Even if my mind forgets, my heart will remember forever." Robert spent that Christmas night surrounded by love. The family brought a small Christmas tree into the hospital room, and everyone sang his favorite carols. His weak voice still managed to join in on Silent Night. "This is the most beautiful Christmas of my life," he murmured, looking at the beloved faces around him. "Why, Grandpa?" Emily asked, stroking his hand. "Because I'm surrounded by people who love me no matter what. There's no greater gift than that." The next day, Robert woke up weaker but still conscious. He asked to speak to each family member privately. With Melissa, he held her hands and looked into her eyes. "My daughter, you've become an extraordinary woman. Strong, brave, generous. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for coming back into my life, Dad. Even if it was just for a little while, it was enough to make me feel whole. Take care of your children, but also take care of yourself. Finish your studies, chase your dreams. It's never too late to start over." "I promise, Dad. And don't hold on to grudges. Life's too short for resentment." With Patricia, the conversation was more emotional. "Thank you for forgiving me, Patricia. Thank you for letting me know our grandchildren. Thank you for showing me that true love always finds a way to heal. You were the great love of my life. Even after everything, I never regretted loving you. Neither did I, Robert, neither did I. Be happy with Richard. He's a good man and deserves all your love. I will be, and I'll always remember you fondly." With Nathan, he talked about drawing and the future. "My grandson, you have a special talent. Never give up on your dreams." "I won't, Grandpa. And I'll draw our family so I never forget these moments. I want you to know you've taught me so much about generosity and forgiveness. At 16, you're wiser than many adults. I learned from you, Grandpa. You showed me that mistakes are part of life, but what matters is trying to make things right." With Emily, he spoke about courage and caring for others. "My dear granddaughter, you have a huge heart. You'll be a wonderful vet. I'll take care of every animal thinking of you, Grandpa. And take care of the people you love too. Family is the most precious treasure we have. I'll take care of Mom, Dad, Nathan, Grandma Patricia, Grandpa Richard. I'll take care of everyone." "I know you will. You're special, Emily. So special." With David, he expressed his gratitude. "Thank you for looking after my family when I wasn't there." "It was my honor, Mr. Robert. Your family became mine too. You're a man of character. Keep being that example for my grandchildren. I'll always honor your trust." And finally, with Richard, he had a conversation no one expected. "Richard, thank you for accepting my presence in Patricia's life. Mr. Wilson, love doesn't shrink when it's shared. It only grows. Take good care of her. She deserves all the happiness in the world." "I will. And I'll make sure she keeps her good memories of you too. You're an exceptional man, Richard. Patricia was lucky to find you." In the hours that followed, Robert grew sleepier. The family took turns holding his hand, singing softly, telling stories he'd already heard, but that seemed to comfort him. "Grandpa, can you hear me?" Nathan asked one clear January morning. Robert slowly opened his eyes and smiled. "Yes, I can, my boy. I want you to know you changed our lives. Before we met you, there was an emptiness in our family we didn't even know was there. You changed my life too. You gave me a reason to live my last years with dignity." "Grandpa, don't be afraid," said Emily, who had just arrived. "I'm not afraid, my dear. I'm at peace." "How can you be at peace?" "Because I know you'll all be okay, because I know the love we built together will keep going even after I'm gone." "Forever, Grandpa, forever." Robert looked at all the beloved faces around him. "I want you to promise me one thing." "Anything, Dad," said Melissa. "Promise you'll keep getting together, telling stories, taking care of each other. Promise you'll stay a close family." "We promise," they all said in unison. "And promise you'll remember not the man who left you, but the man who came back. The man who loved you more than anything in life." "We promise, Grandpa," Nathan said, tears in his eyes. "Then I can go in peace." Robert closed his eyes and smiled serenely. His breathing grew slower, softer, until it simply stopped, like someone drifting off to sleep after a long, well-lived day. The family stayed by his side for a few more hours, holding his hands, whispering words of love and gratitude. There was no despair, just a quiet sadness mixed with deep thankfulness for the 2 wonderful years they'd had together. The funeral was simple but full of love. Besides the family, staff from Golden Years Nursing Home came, along with some residents who had grown fond of Robert, and even Mrs. Jenkins, the neighbor from Dayton who had found him in the storm years earlier. He was a special man, she told Melissa. Even lost and confused, he was always kind and respectful. "Thank you for taking care of him when he needed it most," Melissa replied, hugging the elderly woman. Nathan drew a beautiful picture of the whole family together and placed it with his grandfather. Emily wrote a letter about all the animals she had saved and how he inspired her to care for other living things. "He taught us it's never too late to start over," Melissa said in her short speech. "He taught us that true love always finds a way, and most of all, he taught us that family isn't just who you're born with, it's who chooses to stay with you." Patricia approached the casket and placed a small music box beside Robert. "This was the first song we danced to together," she explained, her voice breaking. "I want you to take it with you." Richard held her tenderly, and the two cried together over the loss of the man who unexpectedly had become so important to them both. In the months that followed, the family kept their promise to Robert. They continued gathering every weekend, now at Melissa's house. Patricia and Richard became constant presences, and the children grew up knowing they had a big, loving family. Melissa graduated from nursing school and got a job at the same hospital where her father had spent his final days. She said it was her way of honoring his memory, by caring for other seniors who needed attention and affection. Nathan further developed his talent for drawing and created a comic about a boy who finds his long-lost grandfather. The story went viral on social media and was adapted into a children's book. Emily devoted herself even more to her studies and caring for animals. Inspired by the stories her grandfather told about his mother tending to injured animals, she started a school project to rescue abandoned pets. Patricia and Richard set up a small memorial in their garden with a photo of Robert and his favorite saying, "Family is who chooses to stay together." Dr. Johnson from Golden Years Nursing Home created a special program to reunite families separated by time and circumstances, inspired by Robert and Melissa's story. "You've shown us that miracles happen when we least expect them," she said during the program's launch, "and that family love can overcome any obstacle." A year after Robert's passing, the family gathered at the cemetery for a special tribute. Each brought a memento. Melissa brought her nursing diploma, Nathan brought his first published book, Emily brought a photo of all the animals she'd saved, and Patricia brought the baptism certificate of a great-grandchild on the way. "Grandpa, we kept our promise," Nathan said, placing flowers on the grave. "We're still a close family." "And we always will be," Emily added, "because the love you taught us is stronger than anything." Melissa looked at the scene, her mother and Richard holding hands, her grown and accomplished children, the growing bump announcing a new life on the way, and smiled through her tears. "Thank you, Dad," she whispered. "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for showing us it's never too late to start over. Thank you for teaching us that true love always finds its way home." The wind gently swayed the flowers on the grave, like a tender response from someone still watching over the family in their own way, wherever they might be. And so Robert Wilson's story became the story of a family that learned true love can heal the deepest wounds, forgive the gravest mistakes, and turn lost time into time reclaimed. Because in the end, family isn't perfect. Family is a gift, and sometimes the most precious gift is a second chance to love and be loved. The end. What did you think of this touching story, dear listener? Share your thoughts in the comments about Melissa and Robert's reunion. Do you believe family love can overcome any obstacle? Tell us your own stories of forgiveness and reconciliation. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss other heartwarming stories like this one. Your participation means so much to us.